So an important case in the US court system for the future of gaming and mobile apps is Epic Games versus Apple. As you can surmise from the title of this video, I think Apple is going to win. Epic Games might win in the lower courts, but it will eventually lose the battle. In today's video, we are going to analyze the core elements of this case and discuss why Epic Games has a steep uphill battle against Apple. So I've been trying to make this video for a few months now, and I have been procrastinating. It's a tough video to put together, not because the situation is sort of analytically difficult or because of a lack of data. It was tough to catalog and just organize all of the reasons that Epic Games is going to lose the case and to distill that all into a short video. Now, a lawyer friend once told me that you can sue anyone for anything. So sometimes you sue someone for reasons other than the merits of the case. Apple thinks this lawsuit is just a publicity stunt by Epic to increase interest in Fortnite. So my goal for this video is to give you the relevant information in this case so that you can form your own opinion. I'm not a trained lawyer, so anything I discuss on this topic should not be interpreted as legal advice. I'm someone with a business background who has to deal with legal issues like many other business people. On this slide, I outline the timeline in this case, which you can pause to read. The core argument Epic is making is that Apple has a monopoly and is exercising monopoly power over Epic in a way that is anti-competitive and abusive. Epic believes this because Apple requires apps in its store to use Apple's payment system. In the US, monopolies have more restrictions over conduct than other businesses. In this video, I'm going to first argue that the situation does not involve monopoly power, and thus the Sherman Act and other related laws do not apply since they concern monopolies. Let's say Apple had monopoly power. I'd argue that requiring the Apple payment system would not be considered abusive tying. In the US, monopolies are not allowed to tie distinct services to the monopoly. Monopolies have extra restrictions on business practices. Ultimately, Epic wants to get out of paying the 30% share to Apple. So, Epic is arguing that Apple has a monopoly and is requiring the payment system, and that is an abuse of monopoly power. However, I'm stating that even if Apple had a monopoly, and even if requiring use of its payment system were quote-unquote abusive, Epic would not have been harmed because 30% is a reasonable fee level. Lastly, Epic's case is undercut by the fact that a Fortnite player on iOS was able to bypass the Apple payment system altogether and not give Apple anything while still playing Fortnite on iOS. This is because of crossplay. So all apps can bypass Apple and its 30% share by simply not being on the iOS platform to begin with, which is easy since iOS isn't anywhere close to being a monopoly in mobile operating systems. In this situation, not only can Fortnite gamers avoid paying the 30% cut to Apple in this way by avoiding iOS altogether, but also because of crossplay, they can cut out Apple's 30% share and still play Fortnite on iOS. There are millions of apps on iOS, so in my opinion, out of all of the millions upon millions of apps on iOS, Fortnite in particular has the steepest uphill battle in arguing iOS has monopoly power, or among the steepest. By definition, Apple has a monopoly within its walled garden of iOS because that literally is what a walled garden is. If Apple needed to be regulated for having a monopoly within a walled garden, then wouldn't every walled garden business model face the same problem? But they don't. In the US, having a walled garden doesn't automatically mean you're regulated as a monopoly. Epic is trying to define the market very, very narrowly, but the relevant market definition is much broader than what Epic is defining it as. What Epic is doing is the equivalent of defining the relevant market for a gas station to within 1 foot of the gas station, but the relevant market is probably more like within 30 miles of the gas station. So within 1 foot, there is only one gas station, so the gas station has 100% market share, but within 30 miles, there could be 20 gas stations, so the gas station's market share could be really low when defining the market correctly. So Apple has less than 50% market share in the US smartphone market, or around 50%. It has the same or less market share than Android, or thereabouts. This is a problem for Epic since monopolies typically have more than 50% market share in the market, or at the very least, they are the biggest operator in the market. Third, let's hypothetically assume Apple did have a monopoly level of market share in smartphones, which it doesn't. It still wouldn't have monopoly power because there are very low switching costs between iOS and Android. Fourth, Let's assume we are lumping Apple and Google together in some sort of ambiguous way, so that if you looked at them together, they have monopoly power, etc. So the case is undercut by the fact that an Android user can install Fortnite on an Android phone outside of the Google Play Store, thereby bypassing both Apple and Google payment systems entirely. Fifth, let's say Apple hypothetically had monopoly power in smartphones for most mobile apps. It wouldn't have monopoly power with respect to gaming apps because of the existence of Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, and PC gaming platforms. Epic generates a relatively small percentage of sales from iOS. After Fortnite was banned on both Google Play and iOS, by the accounts I have read, its usage, revenues, and profitability were still very, very high. Now, hypothetically, let's say the user base and revenues for Fortnite evaporated after being banned from Google Play and iOS. Then maybe Epic could make a case that iOS, or even iOS in conjunction with Google Play, have monopoly power, but this didn't happen. Epic obviously knew that it wouldn't happen either. So the relevant market in this case isn't the iOS app market or the mobile app market or even the mobile gaming app market. It's the entire gaming market, including all major platforms. The fact pattern is that Epic claims Apple and Google have monopoly power over Fortnite. Fortnite is banned from the supposedly sort of monopoly platforms, but Epic barely notices any impact on its user base or revenues. If you look at the Twitch viewership data, it actually looks like the user base increased for Fortnite since being banned on Google and Apple platforms. So after being banned, Fortnite's financial performance for Epic increased, not decreased. If Epic gave Apple its 30% cut after secretly activating its payment system, I think Epic's case would have been stronger. But Epic did not give Apple's 30% cut to it. This demonstrates perfectly why Apple can argue that it is essential that Apple require iOS apps to use its native payment system. If they didn't, the apps wouldn't give Apple its full negotiated 30% cut in many cases. Hence, Apple can argue that the Apple payment system isn't separate from the iOS and App Store. They can argue that it's an essential component of the operating system in App Store. So Epic Games' actions literally destroy its own case against Apple. The head attorneys for Epic are a lot smarter than I am. If I'm able to figure this out in less than a minute, the attorneys did also, and so should the judge in this case. If Apple didn't require usage of its payment system, Apple's business model could fall apart in this space. So how can Epic then argue that the Apple payment system is inherently separate from iOS and the App Store? It can't. So hypothetically, let's give Epic wins on the issues of monopoly and illegal tie-in. Let's say they win on those 2 points. Epic would still have to pay the 30% cut to Apple. This is because the 30% cut is a reasonable level and thus Epic isn't being harmed. Ostensibly, this case is supposed to be about this 30% fee being too high, but it isn't. So let's say the judge determines that Apple has a monopoly and is abusing that power, etc. So what fee does the judge set? He'd set it at about 30%. In physical retail, it is common for retailers to take 50% or more. So iOS adds a lot more value than 30%, in my opinion. iOS solves the two-sided network effects problem, which is a very tough problem to solve in business. Apple's solution to this business problem is worth more than 30%, in my opinion. Most of the apps on its platform wouldn't even exist without the iOS App Store. So if Apple's platform is worth more than 30%, more than the 30% cut, then why doesn't it charge more than 30%? Well, most app platforms charge 30%. This is because it is the equilibrium fee rate charged in the competitive market. Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, Amazon, Google, they all charge about 30% for most big games on their platform. Now, if iOS tried to charge substantially more than 30%, in my opinion, I think Apple's mobile app business would suffer. If Epic had to charge more to its iOS users because of Apple's higher fee rate, the user base for Fortnite on iOS would decline, or its growth rate would be reduced substantially, and the user base on other platforms would probably increase. There's little doubt in my mind that this would happen because of how well Fortnite has performed after being banned on both Google Play and iOS. Now, if Epic is being harmed by the illegal exercise of monopoly power via Apple's 30% fee, then logically that means every platform Fortnite is on that charges this 30% fee, which is all of them, is also harming Epic through illegal exercise of monopoly power. For Epic to win, it needs to show it was harmed, but it wasn't because the 30% fee Apple charges is reasonable, and Epic has to pay the same fee on every platform. Furthermore, gamers could play Fortnite on iOS without giving Apple the 30% cut because of crossplay. If Epic had a strong case, one would have to use iOS to play Fortnite, and one would have to use Apple's payment system on iOS. But neither of these are true. Apple was allowing iOS gamers to play and purchase items in Fortnite without giving Apple anything. You could set up Fortnite on a different platform and make purchases via those other platforms and then play with those digital items on iOS. So this fact pattern indicates Apple wasn't maintaining a 100% closed ecosystem with respect to Fortnite, which really undermines Epic Games' case. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe.